It's time to start looking at some special parallelograms. Quadrilaterals are parallelograms when certain properties occur. We've talked about several of those properties. And now let's talk about special parallelograms. We're going to look at things called, we're going to look at a rhombus, we're going to look at a rectangle, and a square, because those are parallelograms. They're just special types, and here's pictures of all of them. A rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. A rectangle is a parallelogram with 4 right angles. And a square has both. A square is a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles. So technically, you could call a square a rectangle, a rhombus, and a parallelogram, as well as a quadrilateral. So that's got a lot of names. So let's take a look at some of the properties of those. If a parallelogram is a rhombus, then its diagonals are going to be perpendicular to each other. So remember, all of the properties of parallelograms will hold true, but additionally, we will have this one, where we will have diagonals that are perpendicular. They also will bisect each other, and of course, the side issue will be the same, but that's also going to be an additional property. If a parallelogram is a rhombus, then each diagonal bisects a pair of opposite angles. So that's another property of rhombuses. If we have a rhombus, then each diagonal will bisect each of the angles of that rhombus. So angle 1, angle 2 be congruent, 3 and 4 congruent, 5 and 6, 7 and 8 all congruent. And then one more property, this one is of rectangles. And I'm sorry, let's go back a quick second. Remember, if it's a rhombus, this will also hold true, both of these properties will also hold true for squares, because squares are rhombuses. So those will be true for not only rhombuses, but also squares. This one will hold true for a rectangle as well as a square, because remember, a square is also a rectangle. So if we have a rectangle, then the diagonals will be congruent. So the measures of the diagonals will be congruent, as well as all the other properties. There's a look at our notes, and now we'll take a look at some examples, and you can take a look at that here in a second.